Hello Machaunda Mahle, hello Gwanda, hello Zimbabwe. This is Nelson Yasha from Thankful Bed Foundation Trust. Today we're talking about the issue of drugs which have taken over the town of Gwanda. So in today's session we are going to be talking to a couple of community members, trying to find out what they think about the drug issue in Gwanda, and as a community what part we can play to try to eradicate this issue. Over to you, Grace. What do you think about the drug issue in Gwanda?
Personally, I think drug abuse has become a really big problem in the community and in our life, and it's brought about by a number of factors actually. And as they say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So I believe one of the things that is bringing it about is that many of the young people, they actually don't have anything to do. People are frustrated, and the only thing that they are turning into right now is drugs. They believe at least if I'm under the influence of drugs, I get to forget about Namozangu, I get to forget about the facts or into zinzima. So they end up turning to drugs. The other issue I think Ekona is the media. The media is affecting abantwana from a young age. Right now, it's sort of like so ngani normal. Bakwenza kube ngani normal, like the movies that people watch, the way it's portrayed and everything. So abantwana from a young age, if they get exposed to that, they think this is the life, this is the right way to live and all that. So ungaleki control khonapho, it really becomes difficult ukuthi baze bayestochwa sebekholile. And singayiqeda njani drug abuse? I think the best thing to deal with this thing is to deal with it from the source. Actually, the source. If the government can impose some heavy fines or heavy penalties actually on the people who are selling these drugs, on the people who are manufacturing these drugs, it would really help a lot. Because sometimes baqalisa ukubamba laba who are abusing them and everything, but yeah, it's all mbichana, but at least address it from the source. Those people who are selling the drugs, those people who are manufacturing them, maybe it can help. And as a church, the part that we can play as a church, I believe the church really has a big role to play in the community. The church can come up with workshops where they educate our young people on the dangers of drugs, on the dangers of drug abuse. I remember a time, Tina, when we were at school, and some of these workshops, they would be accompanied by videos, like real videos of real people. Sometimes when people are just told, and it's sort of like, yeah, but if you bring real people on the ground and show them this thing that we're telling you to stop, if you don't stop it, this is how you're going to end up. At least it becomes and also you can engage the help of former drug addicts. At least if people hear it from the horse's mouth, maybe it will help. We can get advice from them. These are the dangers. And also as a church, we can increase our activities for young people. Like I said earlier on, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Right now, people really don't have anything to do. They really don't have anything to keep them occupied. But if you have those activities at church, you keep them busy. And also, I think as a church we can have these platforms where young people can have fun. They are young, they still want to have fun. But if we can create such an environment, in a controlled environment, where we can give them activities that they can do, activities are right. I remember back in the day, as a church, we used to have a lot of activities. We used to have competitions, our bora, there was soccer, there was netball, and we used to have music competitions, we used to have drama and all. I was always excited to go to church on a Saturday because I knew there was something that we were doing as young people. And you realize that most of the time we spent it at church and we loved it. So if we can have that, it actually helps. Just a few days ago, I was talking to somebody. And that somebody was telling me, Uguti, there is a certain day I was going to Emantengwane. But what edlula lapha ne-victory, umuntu ehamba la wayesithi no, it seems there is something lapho kwenzakalayo, let's pass through sibone ukuthi nguyini and then we can continue. Siye lapha kade siya khona. Actually, it's not Mantengwane, I think Riverdance, we're going to Riverdance. And since then, those people, they started coming to church. They actually realized ukuthi inga kuchurch kunonakidza kuri kuitwa ichi chakati nechakati. And those activities that we kept doing there, they kept them engaged. They found something to do and they found a place there. But if the church just keeps quiet, the church doesn't do anything, it's only Sunday services and Lokana, people, we really need to do something that is going to capture and captivate ama-ages lawa amancane, something that can keep them busy, something to use up their energy. Then how do drugs affect adults? I would look at it in a way yomzali olomntwana who abuses drugs. It's very stressful for a parent who lomntwana or abuse drugs. Because once those people are under the influence of drugs, abalaleli, they say whatever they want. You try to tell them something, they don't listen. So at the end of the day, as a parent, when I want to salasule stress, and not only that, but you are the one who has to deal with the effects when your children start getting sick. You are the one who has to be there. You are the one who has to take them to the hospital. You are the one who has to deal with the after effects. So it's really stressful for parents. Ngoba yibo stuck with the children. You have to be there for them. Ingaphela yini problem le? This problem, ingaphela, it will take time, but gradually it can end. And it all begins with dealing with this thing from the source. You can't deal with the effects without dealing with the root cause. And yes, we are crying at drug abuse and all that, but if we can address and trace and deal with the root cause and uproot the roots, yeah, it can.
Thank you so much for your insightful contribution. Let's hear what Ms. Karen has to say.
First, indaba ngiyokuzwisisa ukuthi i-drug abuse yikuyini, because I think at the end of the day drug abuse abantu siyacabanga okwensango mostly, but khona ukuthatha ama-tablets like diazepam as a means of relaxing or sleeping, it's abusing that drug. So there are drug abuse is an umbrella term for different things. First, we need to understand ukuthi yini okuthiwa i-drug abuse. Right, singayiqeda njani? One, let people know what is drug abuse. Two, we can have support groups in place where we have awareness campaigns. The problem is ukuthi abantu begcine bebe ku-drug abuse. It's because as a society we are too judgmental. For example, umntwana uyakwanisa ukuthi engxenye they are being sexually abused endlini or they've been raped, they can't speak it out. Why? Because we are quick to judge instead of listening. Because of that, umuntu yabe i-pain leyana, i-trauma leya, uyabona the easiest way to deal with my trauma is to find antidepressants in the name of drugs. Ukuthi ngabhema imbanje zami or nganatha amaphilisi lawa, I will sleep. for some time problems. So as a community, we need to have an open communication, less judgmental, be more to listening and less to judging umuntu when they come through with problems. I think that's how we can get into lay awareness again, make people aware of the dangers. And don't just stop at making them aware of the dangers. Also give the possible solutions. Because I want to teach drugs as so. What's the solution? We need to have coping mechanisms in place. Before umuntu started drug abuse, what was happening in their life? What triggered the abuse? What went wrong? You start from that point to be able to correct and help abantwana ilabantu abadala, right? Another thing in the peer pressure, even amongst the adults who are experimental and all that. We need to work on that one also. And then what part can the church play? The major thing, just like I said, 2.1, let's not judge people when they come to us. A church is supposed to be a place of peace. So be a home to everyone. That way they'll be easy to express their problems, whatever it is that depresses them, or would they end up finding comfort with drugs. Pray, have prayer sessions where you deal with our drugs. Drug abuse, it has many effects, like psychologically, mentally, health-wise, medically. For one, abuse of drugs can cause mental problems, like mental challenges. 2, they can kill you, right? 3, disorder in thinking. My thinking patterns are affected. 4, we are sticker. You know what sticker means, and you become abanye, right? With drugs, abanye, you become slow to react to things. Ubangani is zombie. Abanye, for a moment, when they take those drugs, they become hyperactive and all. It's like an energizer hero. And then after some time, in a long run, it's the total opposite. They become like a zombie. Another thing, most of these drugs which are abused by abantu, they cause issues, heart conditions, and blood pressure is affected. Most of them have high blood pressure. Including a mental disorder, yes. And then the other effects of abusing drugs, a person can become less productive. They can't withstand that 8 hours of a standard work cycle concentrating on the job. They tend to either black out or in a good relaxed mode. They can't be productive when under the influence of drugs. Another effect of drugs, relationships become strained. It's chaotic. Most drug abusers, they have this thing, people don't understand me. That's how they live. They have that thing, no, you don't understand me. Even if you understand them, they just block you out. Even you look at no one understands me. So our relationships become strained. We end up having broken homes. Drug abuse can also cause depression. We can really get depressed because of drugs. And then with parents having to deal with children who are into drugs, I think it's one and almost the same thing. But it really does affect the parents or guardians to a larger scale, because you end up making it about you as a guardian instead of about your child, because you start to think maybe you failed. maybe you haven't been good enough a parent womntwana. At the end, allow your mental health is affected. Yeah.
Okay, good people, that's a wrap. Special thanks to Nelson Shishini for being our anchor. Special thanks to Grace and Karen for their insight on the issue of drugs, a problematic topic that we're having as a community of Rwanda. We're saying this is our first podcast. More podcasts are coming. So stay tuned with us and follow and subscribe us on our social media platforms. Thank you very much. See you next time.